Without further ado, want to welcome back a team working on a circular economy, driving new methods of growth for global brands. Please welcome back EarnOS.
Cheers, man. How we going, team? I'm Phil George, the founder of EarnOS, which is a platform which enables any company on Earth to reward any person on Earth when they engage with them meaningfully. Today we're going to be focusing on how we think you can unlock mass adoption. So I guess to do that, I first wanted to talk about money. And I'm saying something that seems pretty obvious. Most people earn it and spend it. We're focused on making it easier and faster. And I think that everyone in this space sort of already knows what crypto can do and what Web3 can do and all of its technologies. But I think sometimes we forget that the rest of the world doesn't. And I think that remembering that in considering how it is that we'll get mass adoption is really, really important. So the two people that we need to adopt crypto are companies and users. And we think that the reason that users haven't adopted it is because they don't really have a reason. It doesn't really solve a problem for them. And there's also a huge amount of friction. And the friction is going down from a software perspective, but it's not really going down from taking that first leap where you have to fund a wallet in order to do something in crypto. There needs to be something easier, something with a better incentive. And for companies, we keep trying to convince them that they need an NFT or they need tokens. But they don't believe that. They think that they just need more customers, more users, more this, more that. So if we could convince them that they can get more of the things they're after, then maybe they'd be interested in what we have to offer. And today, that's what we're going to talk about. We're now able to instantly and cheaply create billions of wallets for any activity. That wasn't that possible a few years ago. And again, I think we forget how much of a change that makes. Imagine a world where every person and entity can engage financially, instantly, with anyone else. And again, we think about peer-to-peer transactions and we're all like, yeah, I can do that on MetaMask. But there still isn't a way for actual businesses or users to interact with one another on scale, en masse, that's actually easy to use for people. And I think that that's something else that we need to look at and look towards solving. Money is going to become internet native with all of these technologies getting so much better. And today we want to talk about how EarnOS is driving that future. So our platform at its core empowers companies to reward people on the internet instantly. And that means that you can have one company paying 1 million people instantly for an outcome, any outcome. We enable the seamless assignment, verification and payment of any task that can be performed on the internet, whether it's engaging with a brand for advertisement or whether or not it's creating user-generated content to be ingested for training an AI. But I think the core thing is that by incentivizing brands to fund everyone's first Web3 wallet, we sort of solve both of the consumer problem and the business problem at once. You see, we can give the business what they're after, which is more customers, and we can give the user what they're after, which is a reason to care and an incentive. This is what it looks like. This is a user joining EarnOS, creating a wallet in the same way that they'll sign up to any other platform on the internet, plugging in their social media accounts so that in this instance, we can verify that they're probably a person. In this instance, they've been rewarded directly by us, but could be rewarded by any brand for any activity. Creating a username, an important part of any platform. And then here the user is issuing a debit card directly against the non-custodial wallet that they just created, but they don't know that. They just think that they've got money on an internet platform and they've just spent it at Starbucks. And we think that that's a really, really good example of a traditional user experience that is powered by Web3. And ideally, the users don't know that it's powered by Web3. Here's a more specific example of what an actual mission might look like on our platform. So we're targeting advertisements, brands, marketing. So in this instance, we're talking about a sunglass hut mission that was live on our beta, where we attracted over 250,000 users. And in this mission, users were invited to try on a pair of sunglasses, post that picture of them wearing the sunglasses, and the sunglasses are virtual using augmented reality, and then post that on social media so that other people could engage with the content and be invited to try on those sunglasses. We had over 70,000 people complete that mission, and were awarded, I don't know, $300,000 in USD testnet funds. But to demonstrate our model, we wanted to start with the advertising industry. And we think that that's one of the best applications of this sort of incentive structure because, one, it's $1 trillion industry, and that means that we don't need to win very much of it in order to do particularly well, but also because it just so happens to not be doing very well itself at the moment. Brands are facing immense headwinds for a number of reasons. One, about 50% of the internet appears to be bots. My thesis is that's going to go more next year and more the year after that. 120 billion of ad spend is wasted annually, which is more than 10% of the total spend and much more than the total amount of revenue produced by our entire industry annually. On top of that, lots of influencers, micro-influencers, nano-influencers are coming up, and they have become a lot more important to the actual flow of how businesses grow and get their name out there. That's really, really difficult to orchestrate and manage. So making an easier way for brands to work with creators to introduce users seems like something that would be pretty important for increasing the efficiency of those systems. Brands also are now demanding results-based marketing, and that's because the macro environment's changed, it's more and more competitive, and people aren't willing to just throw cash at any system anymore. So they want to know that they're getting actual results for their spend. So we've created something that we call cost per result. It means that if a brand runs a mission on our platform, they know what results they'll get per mission completion, and they know the cost per mission. So they get guaranteed results or they don't spend. If no one does any missions, they don't spend any money, and we don't make any money. This is important because it's focusing on delivering real people to real brands. And for us as a business, it's important because it means real revenue. It doesn't mean made up flywheels or potential token revenue. It's real dollars being paid out to real users and EarnOS earning real cash. The entire platform is designed to be abstracted end to end because we're not targeting Web3 users at all. We're targeting Web2 users. Why build a product for 10 to 20 million users monthly when you can build a product for 5 billion users on the internet? That's who we're targeting. We're not particularly interested in trying to bring Web3 users into something they already know everything about. So we are trying to realign the incentive models of the entire advertising industry by incentivizing everyone who plays a role. We incentivize agencies to bring brands online and give them a share of our revenue back for doing so. And we incentivize creators for bringing users online and give them a share of our revenue for doing so. So both sides of our marketplace are basically bootstrapped using very similar incentive models that we've actually seen fall out and work in Web3. In this instance, brands win because they get the users that they want and they know the cost of them. Users win because they get rewarded for their time and get to experience a new way of engaging with money. Creators win because they actually can have value for the people who follow them without turning those people who follow them and trying to convince them to buy things that they don't need. Like imagine telling your audience of 10 million people that you can earn money online, and when they earn money online, you earn money online as well. It's not an adversarial relationship with your followers anymore. It's actually a relationship that makes sense. Agencies win because they can deliver more effective results to the brands that they represent, and they get a kickback of some of the revenue that they bring on the platform as well, which is a very similar model to what Google AdSense did when they first launched. EarnOS wins because we make the revenue on the success fees. And pretty importantly to everyone in this room, Web3 wins because it means that all these users who previously didn't give a damn have a reason to care. And when you have a positive first experience rather than getting rugged, you might want to look further and say, okay, well, what else can I do? And I think that that's really, really critical to the overall experience. So our sort of slogan for the company is everyone wins, which is remembering that we can use aligned incentives to build a better model than what we have currently. And let's be clear, in Web 2, the biggest beneficiary was advertising. It doesn't exist yet in Web 3 in any scale. So how do we deliver the users that are actually valuable to the brands? Instead of paying for advertising and hoping users show up, Web3 has industrialized shaping behavior and rewarding engagement. I love that quote. It was written by someone smarter than me, but I'm using it here. We're using web proofs so that we can deliver exactly the users that brands are after, and the users have the ability to verify that they are those users if they want to claim those rewards. We're not stealing any information. We're not monetizing their data without their permission. We're giving them the opportunity to prove their worth to the brands that are targeting them, and when they do, they can be rewarded. So if you're a Robinhood user that's made $1 million of trades in the last 30 days, you're probably more valuable to Robinhood's upcoming competitor than someone who's made, like me, $100 of trades in the last 30 days. So you should earn more than I earn for that competitor, for completing that, because you're valued, you're worthwhile. So we're using web proofs to perform a whole bunch of different mechanisms on the platform, and you can see that, and I can jump into them in question time. But the TLDR is that they're very cool, they're very precise, and they basically turn all Web 2's moats into attack vectors. And that's really, really exciting because it gives us the mechanism to take them all over, us being Web 3. So the beginning journey is about earning and spending because we think that that's the thing that most people do with money. But beyond that, there's no reason that we can't expand out what we're building into more journeys that we're all familiar with in crypto. Saving, where you're yielding and trading, but importantly, using language that doesn't alienate Web 2 customers. Our model, very simple. For all spend brought on platform, we take 33%. The users are rewarded the rest. So if someone gets paid $2 for a mission, we earn $1, is the simple way of looking at it. We then take that dollar and we reward the agencies and the creators that built out the network on both sides. On top of that, we will capture value with any of the other outcomes that occur on the platform. So we launched our beta recently. We onboarded 250,000 people, not wallets, actually people. We worked with 5 global brands, Uber, Lacoste, The North Face, Sunglass Hut, and Baskin & Robbins, which I somehow managed to say in a completely different order that's listed there. And we paid out about $4 million in testnet USDC to prove out that this flywheel works and delivers the value that we are intending to deliver to the brands. So we completed more than 900,000 missions. We grew Sunglass Hut's social media by 175% in 14 days. We delivered 316,000 brand interactions to Uber Eats. And we gave 50,000 email subscriptions to, who was the last one? North Face, thank you. On top of that, in terms of our go-to-market, we've partnered with more than 15 global brand agencies who combined have access to about $5 billion of their brand spend. So that doesn't mean we have access to it, but it means that the people that we have access to it. We then have more than 400 creators, which deliver more than 800 million eyeballs of reach, that people that will actually be able to see the missions that we're hosting through our creator network. We think now's the time. We genuinely don't believe that this was possible a year ago. Someone on day one said, we're interested in ideas that were tried in the past and now may be the time. We think that it makes a difference that you can create wallets for next to nothing, that you can bridge USDC effortlessly at almost zero cost, and that these hyper-efficient chains are coming up. And the debit card thing has come a long way, which turns it into a familiar process that sort of anyone understands. We haven't built out all that. We're not trying to take credit. We stand on the shoulders of giants, and we're just acknowledging who those people are. From here, our goal is to continue expanding the amount of different verifications that we can run on platform, which gives brands more ability to engage more users in more interesting ways to encourage sort of returning behavior, grow out our agency partnerships, build out our creator network, build out a distribution network, a Google AdSense style model, but for EarnOS, and then launch additional products like the save and trade thing. Here's our immediate sort of next 6 months. The team, experienced, Web3, fintech, consumer. Wayne, the really important one, is our brand agency expert who's onboarded all of those 15 brand agencies and will onboard the next 100. I think he's our secret kryptonite. He's the guy who's unlocking all of the revenue. I just wanted to leave it with this though. I think it's really important. Businesses don't want different. They just want a better version of the same thing they already know. And this isn't just for what we're doing. I think it's for everyone in the whole space. It's just tell them that it's going to do something better than what they're currently doing. And don't try to sell them on NFTs and tokens. I think it's the wrong way around. We don't even tell the brands that we're using crypto. We just tell them that we're going to deliver better results. And that's what they care about. We're going to fund billions of consumer wallets through the redistribution of $1 trillion of annual global ad spend into efficient growth with aligned incentives. And the really interesting thing about that is if we wanted to fund 1 billion new wallets, which is what everyone uses in every pitch, so I'm going to use it here, it would only cost $5 billion. Well, it would cost a little bit more because of our fees, but less than 1% of annual spend. And I think when you think about that, it's just nothing in the whole scale of things. We want to take people from 0 to 1 on their Web3 journey. That's what we're building. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. A great presentation. Can you give me a couple examples of sort of variable payouts that would be based on differential value that's added to the brand by the end user based on their audience size or different amounts of value that they've given?
Yeah, so it sounds like you're asking me if are we good to use the Robinhood example that I gave before, or do you want a different example?
Yeah, just a couple more like that.
So in the Robinhood example, a brand could define thresholds of what they'd be willing to reward between a number of trades or a number of users or whatever the criteria are for the brand. So if they said for existing Robinhood users who have made between $0 and $99,000 of trade in this period of time, we'll reward $100. Or we'll reward $1,000 for people who have done between $100,000 and $999,000 or whatever. Really whatever the brand determines is valuable to them. The other one that I really like using is Uber because it's a really relatable sort of thing is like Uber's got a top tier of users that are kind of the premium users that everyone wants to onboard. If you can attest that you're one of those users, like the people who are trying to compete with Uber and do it at a much lower market fee, they're going to want you and they're going to be willing to pay the premium for it. But it doesn't mean that they don't want other users that use it less frequently because they need to establish mass, right? So we give them the opportunity to do that and we facilitate the rewards and verification of it so that all they're thinking about is running a campaign that's laser targeted.
So you're able to micro-target different cohorts based on their value to the brand.
Yeah. But to be clear, using the web proofs that other people have built because they're awesome.
My other question is, to what extent do your plans depend on Monad? I mean, how critical is it within the system that you intend to build?
We need the fastest, cheapest, easiest chains to use so that we can facilitate these transactions in a way where we can subsidize all the transaction fees. Because our users don't know what gas is, they don't know what transaction fees. We basically have to make the whole thing feel like Magic Web 2.
Thank you.
Cool. So a lot of community members asking a very similar question. I will credit LKA. Shout out LKA.
Shout out.
The question is, what kind of data is EarnOS looking to collect on users? And then what does the flow of that data look like back to the brands for like their insights, CRMs, et cetera?
That's an awesome question. And I think we have like a philosophical position with this one, which is that any data that we collect will be packaged for the user to sort of profit off in the future. But we don't want to collect it in like a surreptitious way whereby, if someone runs a mission and we collect a bunch of information about a user and then the next brand wants that information, that's not ours to sell. That's the user's to provide in exchange for the reward. So like the user should be paid 100 times for providing their email 100 times, right? As a very simple example or whatever it is. It's not our place to sell that body of data onwards. But in terms of where we see data markets occurring for advertising data, if there is a way that we can efficiently package it and we can sell it on with the user's consent where the user's the one getting rewarded, then great. But that's going to be a concept that the user has to understand and be familiar with because our entire purpose of our platform is to keep it super simple.
Very cool. Thank you. And then the second one is from FS7. What brands are you guys looking to partner with in the near future? And I might expand on that a little bit and say, like, what are good brands for you guys to go and kind of initially bring on, right? Like I think Robinhood is a very good example, or Uber versus Lyft. Are there any other kind of categories of businesses that this is like a very obvious fit for that you guys would look to do?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, digital fintech products are good because, one, they have high acquisition costs and they've got broad reach and substantial advertising budget. But we've really been surprised at how much interest there's been for our platform with consumer goods. Consumer goods are really, really competitive at the moment. People are looking for an edge around there. So physical products that have education pieces that are digital in nature are really, really large, and a lot of interest from energy drinks, luxury clothing brands, sports, athleisure brands, things like that, which is really exciting to us because it really transcends the digital space in terms of not being limited to just like the fintech platforms. I mean, that'll be an aspect of it, but the consumer is actually the primary area of interest.
In crypto, when we've seen people run incentive programs, probably the most common criticism of them is that it's like quote unquote mercenary users or capital, meaning like you put money up and the users or liquidity, wherever that ends up coming in, doesn't actually really care about you or is like low quality, just trying to extract the value. And I'm curious, like, what you think about the point that maybe the more that users are rewarded, like the worse the users get because it turns into, a mercenary attempt to extract it as easily as possible.
Yeah. So I think the two things there to address are mercenary behavior often results in like people trying to game the system. So it matters that the people that are being rewarded are actually people rather than, like 1,000 accounts that have been generated. And that's why the sort of issuance of the debit card is provided to give us that final confirmation that the user is a human and that they're a singular human rather than an attack trying to act in a mercenarial way. But the second thing is how do you deliver the valuable users? And I think that the web proof aspect like answers a piece of that, but also it would be valuable to think about the missions that can be run on our platform as effectively like pushing people along a funnel. So like if the missions are completed that way, but if you turn it sideways and have them dropping down, perhaps the first missions are like high level educational pieces. And then the second missions push them to the mid funnel and try to get them to more engage with their things so that they can, because these brands know that they just need this many touch points and they know how many customers drop out from the top, right? So we're not necessarily focusing on every mission being an acquisition mission. It's education, it's marketing, it's storytelling, it's brand awareness.
Insofar as crypto is maximally abstracted and this is as Web2 schemorphic as possible, what exactly does the broader crypto onboarding flow look like? Like, what is sort of the moment where you pull the curtain back and reveal the hamster on the wheel?
This might not be the most popular answer, but maybe never. Like, in so much as that, like, the benefits of these technologies are that they, they make things faster, they make things easier, they make things smarter. But like, no one really wants the layers pulled back on Facebook and their stack using AWS, Cloudflare, or they don't use anything anymore because it's all their own tech. But when they used to, like, I don't know if that's that valuable. I think that it's valuable for self-sovereign, like self-custody and knowing that, but you need to care enough to want to know, sort of thing. So yeah, that's my answer.
Awesome.
Cheers. Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
All right, another awesome pitch from EarnOS.